What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk Studios this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us and making us a part of your brand new work week. Whether you are listening on the radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM, streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com. You've got the app, you've got your smart devices, and of course the video stream that's up and rolling on Man Cave TV on YouTube here this morning. What do we have on our game plan? We've got lots to catch up on. We've got Brewers continuing their awesome start to the regular season, picking up another series win, taking down the Kansas City Royals, winning 2 out of 3. With Friday's game being postponed, they had a split doubleheader on Saturday. Brewers picking up 1 win out of the 2 games there, and then securing the series finale win yesterday. So the Brewers are off to a 7-2 start to be in this 2026 campaign. Their American League run will continue as they will be taking on the Boston Red Sox tonight. Brandon Woodruff getting his second start of the season tonight. First pitch around 5:45 tonight. So lots to catch up on in the Brewers world. Going back, 5-2 win, first game of this series on Saturday. They did drop the second game 8-2, but then yesterday in a little bit of a back and forth affair, Brewers able to pick up an 8-5 win to secure that series win. So Brewers wise, we'll hit this up and talk a lot about baseball here this morning, including your thoughts. Just kind of, taking a look at another series win for the Brew Crew. What are your thoughts on what you've seen so far from this team 9 games into the season? A lot to like here. I think there's a lot to like. Garrett Mitchell, 5 RBIs in that first game. You had Kyle Harrison with his second start yesterday. I thought he looked solid. Gary Sanchez is, leading the team in home runs right now, taking advantage of his opportunities. Contreras yesterday had a solid day. Yelly had a triple. He's off to a good start too. So, there's a lot to like so far from this team. But we'll go through it all here in just a little bit. We'll talk some Brewers baseball on our leadoff. It is the final week of the regular season here for the Milwaukee Bucks. They did pick up a win yesterday, but there sure seems like there's more drama brewing between Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks. Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel able to talk to Giannis and getting some really good stuff from Giannis and such. One, remember that comments that we had heard? Oh man, was that when that was a couple weeks ago when I think the tournament first started off. But Wes Edens, there was that article on ESPN where he said, Giannis essentially is going to be traded or will sign a contract extension this offseason. Giannis responding to that comment saying, quote, "It's like a slap in my face. A slap in my face," he said. Was not happy. And in fact saying he's barely even talked to ownership, whether it was Wes Edens or Jimmy Haslam. Said he's talked to Wes Edens once via Zoom, twice with Jimmy Haslam, one of them Zoom, and one of them was around right before a game. So you got that. He also said that this season obviously it was been a down season for more ways than one, injuries and obviously the team and such. But Giannis admitted that he struggled this year with separation from his family. You remember earlier in the season, because there was everybody that was kind of running with this, like, oh, Giannis is moving his family to Greece. What's going on? They're staying in Greece. And Giannis opened up about it and said essentially they stayed in Greece to try to get away from all the media speculation about what was going to happen with him this year. And so he said he really struggled with that. Struggled with it because his family has been, we know this. We've seen this. We obviously we don't know a whole lot about the inside stuff of of Giannis in that. But we know priority number one for him is his family. That's priority number one, is his family. And he admitted it. He really struggled with that this season, being away from his family, and it affected him on the courts. It affected his mind space this year. So, really good stuff from Lori Nickel from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, kind of getting a little bit of a peek behind the curtain, if you will, about this whole Giannis situation. Then you add in the investigation is still continuing. Still continuing, that whether Giannis, whether the Bucks are purposely sitting out Giannis, and, when he should be playing, Giannis says he still wants to play. A lot of it is because he wants to be on the court and play with his brother Alex. So, yeah. There's a lot of stuff. And the other part of it, too, was that, Giannis did confirm that Bucks and Knicks discussed a trade involving him, too. So there's a lot to go through on this thing. But we'll get to that coming up here in a little while here, too. Talk some hoops as we start to wrap up this regular season here. That I think a lot of us Bucks fans are ready to move on from and such. So, but we'll get to that. Speaking of hoops, we've got the national championship tonight. UConn taking on Michigan after Michigan dominating Arizona in the Final Four matchup on Saturday. UConn ending Illinois' run. So we've got the conclusion of that on the women's side. Obviously, a little bit of drama with Gino and Dawn Staley from their Final Four matchup, UConn and South Carolina. But yesterday, UCLA taking out South Carolina on the women's side to capture their first national championship. So we'll hit that up and talk some hoops throughout this morning. College hoops. Get your picks in, all right? That's what I want to hear from you. Who are you rolling with tonight? Are you going to go with the Wolverines of Michigan? Or are you going to go with the UConn Huskies? Who are you picking for tonight's championship game? We'll continue our Packers draft prospect countdown series as we are just a couple weeks away from the NFL draft. Obviously, we don't have a first-round pick, but in case you've missed the numerous times we've been doing this, we've been highlighting some potential picks here with for the Packers that they could target on day 2, rounds 2 and 3. So we'll go through a couple more prospects, but also Packers-wise, Ed Policy clearing the air. All right, Ed, clearing the air here a little bit on this whole naming rights. Do we say talk, narrative, story, whatever we want to call it? So in his column, Mark Murphy started this where he takes 5 questions and such on Packers.com. Ed Policy has continued that tradition where he has taken questions from fans and such. Calls it, instead of Murphy takes 5, it's Policy's perspective. And it's got the title right here, says, let's clear this stadium thing up. So he clarifies some of his comments about the naming rights to Lambeau Field. Essentially, don't worry about it right now, Packers fans, okay? Just don't. Don't worry about it. It's not a thing, okay? Not a thing. Not a thing that they're looking to do, and it's not a thing that's going to be happening anytime soon. So, but let's have a little fun with this next one here. So we've talked a little bit about Packers alternate uniforms and such, and that's going to happen this year because the NFL is doing this rivalry thing. And one of the questions he got was from, is this from Eric from Oshkosh? Hello, Mr. Policy. Can we please do an actual alternate uniform at some point? For decades, the answer has been that we just don't want to break with the historic tradition of the Packers. We get that. but it's not like anyone is asking to permanently change the uniforms. I like the number of throwbacks, but still don't understand why the Packers are so reluctant to try something new and creative during the season. Is the organization afraid that too many people might actually prefer the new look and pose a threat to the traditional one? Policy responds by saying, thanks, Eric. Yes, as I mentioned back in November, there is a true alternate uniform in the works. Last year, the NFL unveiled a new rivalries uniform for teams in the AFC East and the NFC West. The NFC North is on the docket this year. Stay tuned, and you'll learn more in the coming months. But I will say this truly alternate uniform will celebrate our owners and emphasize our uniqueness. All right, so another clue. Put on your detective hats here. What the heck do you think these things are going to look like? Because that insinuates something about fans being the owners. That's what it sounds like. So what the heck is this thing going to look like now? Because at first I thought it was helmet, cheesehead sort of thing. But now, celebrate our owners and emphasize our uniqueness. You can't have a photo of every single owner on your helmet or jersey or anything like that. So what the heck? Let's have a little fun, all right? Give me some predictions, all right? And I'm going to keep them because if somebody gets this right or gets pretty darn close, I'm going to have to reward you or something with that. So, but we'll talk some football and such a little bit later on here. It is a VFW Post 305 best and worst of the weekend. So give your best and worst on the weekend. That's simple. Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or hit us up on the Section 105 chats with your best and worst from the weekend. We'll do some local sports roundup, brought to you by our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center, Justice Cleveland, WEAU 13 News will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour, so we'll do our local sports roundup with him. Also, it is a Glory Days Monday, brought to you by Summer Jam in Eau Claire. So we'll hit that up in the 9 o'clock hour as well. So as you can tell, we have a loaded game plan for us on this Monday morning. Let's get things rocking and a-rolling, shall we? We'll take our first break and then the leadoff. Let's give a little love to the Brew Crew, continuing their awesome start to the season. 7-2. 7-2. What has really stood out to you so far about this Brew Crew team? I'll tell you one thing that's really kind of stood out to me here, but I'll save it for coming up here after our first break. But I want to give you a chance here too. So I know it's still early. It's just 9 games into a 162-game season. But come on. It's baseball. It's a long season. We got to celebrate or, be happy when we do go on these runs, because there's probably going to be a couple times throughout the season where they're going to be on some slow starts or even a little bit of slumps. We're like, what the heck is wrong with this team? So right now, let's give them a big old tip of the cap. It's fun to watch the Brewers, right? Let's take our first break, and then coming up, we'll talk some Brew Crew baseball to get us going on this Monday morning. We'll be right back after these quick words. Baseball is back, and that means one thing. It's brat season, baby. Swing on into Mike's Star Market and stock up for game day the right way. From fresh and wide variety of flavorful brats to, they've got everything that you need to fire up the grill and feed the whole crew. So whether you're tailgating or maybe doing a little backyard grilling or you're just catching a game at home, nothing says baseball like brats on the grill. Make every pitch, every inning, and every bite count. It's Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. You're home for brat season, baseball season. And that's where we lead things off here this morning, talking some Brew Crew baseball as the Crew off to continue their awesome starts this season, picking up another series win, taking 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals this past weekend. Go back to their first game and their doubleheader from Saturday. The Brew Crew picking up a what are we doing here? There we go, 5-2 victory for the Crew. Chad Patrick picking up his first win of the season, He went 5 strong innings, giving up just 4 hits, no earned runs, striking out 3. Did issue 3 walks, but you look at the 2 starts so far from Chad Patrick this year. In his first one going up against the White Sox, he went 4 1/3, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run, striking out 4, and then follows that up by picking up his first one, going 5 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, striking out 3. Aaron Ashby came in, gave up a couple earned runs, his hometown and such, but that was it. After that, in terms of runs, Uribe getting his second hold of the season, Trevor McGill picking up the second save of his season. But it was the Garrett Mitchell game in game 1 of that doubleheader on Saturday. All runs produced by Garrett Mitchell. In 4 at-bats, he collected a couple of hits and 5 RBIs. And when we look at Garrett Mitchell so far this season, all right, again, I get it. It's a smaller sample size, and I'll probably always say this until maybe Memorial Day and such. But in his season so far, he has 11 RBIs. He is hitting .318. He's got an on base of a .423 and an OPS of a 1.014. We have talked about Garrett Mitchell for the last couple of years. Go back to last year. And Garrett Mitchell was like, okay, is this the guy that's going to help, fill the void left by Willie Adames? Is he going to be the power guy? Such as that where that offense is going to come? Gets hurt. Misses a huge, practically the whole season. All right, this year, can he just stay healthy? Because the last few years, the beginning of his career, he hasn't just been able to stay healthy. So what's the expectation? What are we going to see from this guy? Right? That was the big question mark. Because we saw glimpses of it towards the end of the 2024 season. And so far, guy is off to a fantastic start. Really big start. And he has come up with some clutch hits a few times already for this Brewers squad. But it was that first game of that doubleheader. Let's just call it the Garrett Mitchell game, shall we? So Yelich also collected a couple hits in that game, and we're going to get to Christian Yelich here in just a skosh. But then game 2, Brewers falling 8-2. The Royals jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Brewers able, of course, to tie it up because this is the team that isn't deterred by, starting off in a hole or such. But it was that 6th inning where the Royals were able to put up 6 runs. So Logan Henderson got the start because it was a doubleheader, able to add an extra guy. Logan Henderson got the start. And he pitched 2 innings, gave up 2 earned runs and such. And then Brandon Sproat, who struggled at his major league debut, was the piggyback guy, getting the bulk of the work. Well, he started off fine, but then that 6th inning, that's when everything kind of started to fall off. He ended up gets charged with a loss, goes 3 2/3, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. So you look at Brandon Sproat's start to his Brewers career. Go back to his game against the White Sox. No decision, but he gave up 7 earned runs. 3 innings, 7 earned runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. Follows it up in his Kansas City game, going 3 2/3, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Issues with walks and obviously giving up some earned runs. If there is one thing to maybe kind of look at this start to this Brewers season where you kind of scratch your head or maybe looking at a negative or looking at something that's not that great, it's probably the start for Brandon Sproat. Now, is it possible they may send him down and maybe keep Logan Henderson up or Robert Gasser gets called up and such? But then, you're kind of, it's a possibility. I don't know if they would want to add another lefty to the rotation and such, but something to maybe monitor here. Now, they're not ready to give up a Brad Sproat. Brad Sproat, he's got talent. There's talent there. There's no question there's talent there. It's just he's off to a little bit of a sluggish start. to begin his Brewers career. Not ready to close the door on him. I hope, really hope there's no Brewers fans saying, well, that was a bust of a move. We're not there yet. Okay? Way, way, way too early in that process. And then yesterday's game. In the series finale, the rubber match, right? The Brewer crew. So they jump out to an early lead. And it was just it was one of those games. I mean, they go out to a 3-0 lead. Yelly hits the triple. Gary Sanchez hits another home run. It just felt like they could never really pull away because what did the Royals do? Well, they had a couple in the third. The Brewers had another run in the fourth. They had 2 on in the seventh. But what happened at the bottom frame of the seventh? The Royals had 3. Just never really able to pull it away until the Brewers able to add a couple runs in the ninth, and then Trevor McGill picks up his 3rd save and locks it down in the bottom of the ninth. But Contreras, couple hits, couple walks, couple RBIs. We mentioned Yelich with the triple, couple hits for him in that game. But Harrison, another one of the younger pitchers to join the crew this year, I thought he looked good again. I mean, you go back to his first game against Tampa Bay, he went 5 innings, giving up just 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He followed it up by getting his first win of the season, going 5 1/3, just 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 Ks. So while Brandon Sproat has been off to a sluggish start to his Brewers tenure, can't really say that about Kyle Harrison. I think, Kyle Harrison was my pick for when Brandon and I did kind of our Brewers preseason picks. Kyle Harrison was my guy. Was my pick where I'm like, oh, this is the guy that I think is going to be kind of the nice surprise or really kind of shine or break out, if you will. And we had seen glimpses of this in spring training and such. Guy throws some nasty stuff and he works quick too, which I kind of like. But I thought he was solid. Solid again yesterday. So, biggest thing is Brewers picking up 2 out of 3. And how about the gun out from the new guy in right field, Bobby Wood Jr. from yesterday's game too. Woo. That was a nice play. But what has kind of maybe really stood out to you so far in this first 9-game stretch? Or 9-game stretch. First 9 games of the season. To me, right now is, you look at the Brewers' numbers, and I know Buster Olney this morning, he posted his, 5 things. All right. The 5, he calls it. And one of them on there was the Brewers at an MLB best plus 28 in run differential. Yelich hitting .353. And I agree, but I think to add to it, it's just the Brewers' success going up against left-handed pitching so far this year, too. When you factor in that Jackson Chirio's not in the lineup, Andrew Vaughn's not in the lineup, 2 right-handed bats, and that was something we have talked about, was, okay, the Brewers have a lot of left-handed bats. Do they need more right-handed guys now with Chirio and Vaughn? Like, how are they going to be able to go up against left-handed pitchers when they are very left-handed hitting heavy lineup? And you give credit to guys like Terang and to Yelich and to those guys for, beginning their seasons off on a very, very, very solid start. This is what we want to see from Christian Yelich, who's your DH and getting in the middle of the lineup, right? This is the start that you want to see from him so far. Hitting .353. And then your other lefty, who's your leadoff hitter so far, .303. Bryce Terang's OPS is 1.001. Yelly's is 918. I mean, these guys are off to fantastic starts. And then you go back to Garrett Mitchell, a guy we talked about already too. .318 with a 1.014 OPS. That's another lefty bat. It's what these guys are doing against left-handed pitching. Really, to me, has been kind of a really good surprise so far. I mean, heck, Brandon Lockridge, for crying out loud, and I get it. He's got 23 ABs, so it's not like he just has a few at-bats, but this was a guy in spring training where essentially he beat out Blake Perkins because of what he was doing from an offensive standpoint. And right now, all he's doing is hitting .348 with an .814 OPS. So it's offense that has really stood out, especially when you factor in Jackson Chourio hasn't played, and Andrew Vaughn has just played one game. And what this lineup has been doing, a very left-handed heavy lineup, and what they have been doing against left-handed pitchers. That, to me, has been one thing that has really, really stood out. So I mentioned, Brandon Sproat. If you want to look at something that's maybe been a little bit down, I guess if you want to look at something that's been negative to begin the season, you can kind of look at his start. There is something else that maybe we should pay a little attention to. I got to take a quick break, and I'll bring that up. Give it up after these quick words. As the fields come back to life, it's time for spring sports here in the Chippewa Valley. Whether you're stepping up to the plate, hitting the track, or getting back on the field, make sure that your body is ready to perform. At Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, their team specializes in keeping athletes of all ages healthy, strong, and in the game. From injury prevention to expert care and recovery, they've got you covered every step of the season. Don't let pain keep you on the sidelines. Get back in the game with confidence. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, helping you move better, play stronger, and staying in the game. I got to admit, I'm back to getting nervous about Joey Ortiz at the plate, you guys. He was off to a good start this season and such, but I'm starting to get a little bit more nervous now with Joey Ortiz up at the plate. Now, you look at his ABs, okay? So far this season, he's hitting .269, which obviously is higher than what it was last year. It's higher than his career average and such. But kind of looking at the trend here. So the last two games against the Royals here, just one hit and 8 at-bats, 4 strikeouts, no walks. And there were times, again, runners in scoring position, an opportunity to manufacture some runs. And just some poor ABs, poor at-bats. And starting to get a little bit more nervous about Joey Ortiz coming up to the plate. And now, I mean, you throw in the Cooper Pratt stuff. I think the watch is on now, too. And the thing is like Cooper Pratt, if there was one thing that he could get better at, that he could improve at, it's his bat, right? But the Brewers this past weekend made the signing of Cooper Pratt official. And they also moved him to the 40-man roster. So it's a step towards maybe seeing the kid make his major league debut. Matt Arnold with some of the comments now that the deal has been official. He said, there have been so many people that from our perspective have had nothing but positive things to say about Cooper throughout his tenure as a Brewer and even before he was a Brewer. So all of the arrows pointed in the right direction for us to commit to something like this. We're super excited to be able to do this. Super excited. Oh, this is actually from Cooper Pratt, excuse me. Getting my quotes mixed up here. We're super excited to be able to do this with the Brewers and to be able to hopefully be a longtime Brewer. He also kind of talked about, a decision he had to make for himself about, does he sign this deal? Does he wait it out? and such? Does he take the security now? It is something that he thought about for a while, and ultimately he decided to take the security part of the deal here. And Arnold went on to say, I think that we believe in the bat. We believe in the glove, certainly. And again, this is a guy who is really toolsy. He's very athletic. He's a big physical kid. So we think there's a chance to grow into some power, and he can really run. So when we have that kind of athletic foundation, it's a really good thing. Now, the interesting part in this whole thing is who Cooper Pratt's agent is. It's Scott Boras. Okay? Now, Scott Boras clients, we know a lot of what it's like. Okay, if you are a top baseball player, Scott Boras is more than likely your agent and looking always for the best deal and such. So to see a prospect sign an extension like this kind of like raise some eyebrows, like, oh, that's interesting a little bit that Scott Boras would be all about this. Because obviously, they want to, maybe he wants his players to hit free agency and, get as much cash as possible. But Boras saying that's one of the biggest reasons why I kind of decided to do this. Or Pratt said, too, I could just play and not have to worry about other stuff, all of the transactional stuff, and just play. When I do get called up to the show, I could just be ready to play in the show and not worry about other things. Boras went on to say for Cooper, how and why he played had a lot to do with this decision, what it meant for him to move ahead and to advance to the big leagues, in his mind, quicker, what it meant for him to approach the game in a way that allowed him to develop appropriately. He also talked about the stability Boras did for Cooper Pratt, saying, we want to optimize Cooper. And I felt better. I felt after listening to him and his family that this was a deal that will allow him to be his best. And if we make Cooper his best, contractually, the risk on the backside of this will allow us optimization in the next contract. The risk of 7 or 8 years of play before free agency happens is immense, but I also know that the height of his performance after listening to Cooper will be enhanced because he made this decision. And Cooper said, I feel in my heart that I made a good decision. So you add in Joey Ortiz. Joey Ortiz knows that Cooper Pratt is going to be the starting shortstop at some point. And maybe Joey Ortiz pressing a little bit at the plate, possibly. I mean, Joey Ortiz is not the long-term guy. He's not. He is not the long-term guy at this spot. And right now, you look at his offensive play, his last 3 games, he's collected 2 hits. He has not walked a single time, and he has struck out 4 times. He is hitting 167 in his last 3 games. It's the same number for his on base, the same number for his slugging. Not even a sack, not even a sacrifice. Nothing. And this is when he started off his first 4 games, where he was 357 and on base of a 438. He has already struck out the same amount of times in fewer games than how he the first 5 games of the season. He struck out 4 times. He's already struck out 4 times in 3 games. Something to maybe kind of keep an eye on here as we go forward. But all right, we got to take a quick break. Let's take a look at tonight's Game 1 against the Boston Red Sox. Brandon Woodruff, he's going to be back on the mound for game number 2. Game number 2. All right, we got a really good matchup tomorrow with Mizorowski and Garrett Groshette, but we'll get to that tomorrow. Let's talk a little Brandon Woodruff in Game 2 and his second start of the season in Game 1 between the Brew Crew and the Red Sox coming up after these quick words. Stock it up for spring. Well, hey, Hy-Vee has everything you need to fill your pantry, pack up the freezer, or get ready for maybe having some meals outside. Just need some consistently warm, nice weather out there. From fresh cuts of meat and easy grill-ready favorites to frozen essentials, snacks, and quick weeknight dinners, especially spring sports season. Maybe going to be, a little bit on the run and such. Hy-Vee makes it simple to be prepared for whatever the season brings. Are you planning a backyard cookout? Hey, they've got the buns, the sides, and the flavors to make it easy. So stop on in today, stock up, and save time, and enjoy more moments around the table or the grill. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, where there is a helpful smile in every aisle. All right, so we've got game one between the Crew and the Red Sox coming your way tonight. And we get Brandon Woodruff with his second start. Going up against, obviously, it's an American League and National League team. Not a ton of experience, but we got a little bit here. I mean, obviously, William Contreras, William Contreras' brother Wilson is now with the Red Sox, and long time, obviously, with the Cardinals and such. So he's got 19 career at-bats against Brandon Woodruff, but not very successful, just hitting a 105 against him with a 451 OPS. On the flip side, with Bello going for the Red Sox, you got Bowers, who has 9 career at-bats against him. He's hitting 222 with a 973 OPS. Yelly has 7 career at-bats, 286, 715. Renifo has 6 career at-bats, but he does have an RBI against him and such too. So, and then everybody else has like 1 or 2 at-bats against him and such. So, but Brandon Woodruff making his second start on the season. Picked up a win in his first outing where he went, 5 innings against Tampa Bay, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 6 Ks. I think now, what we want to see from Brandon Woodruff, again, kind of what we talked about before his season debut, just the model of consistency. You know what you're going to get from Brandon Woodruff more times than not. When it's his turn to the rotation, you're feeling confident in what you're going to see. You're feeling confident in knowing what type of performance you're going to get from Brandon Woodruff. And it's just going to be up to the offense. Like, hey, we know what Woody's going to do on the mound. We know what he's going to give us. We know the performance he's going to have. What can we as an offense now do to help him out? With him making starts, I think it just gives you that confidence from the offensive side of things that this group or this team, they know what to do. They know what to expect with Woodruff on the mound. Can they just give him the support now, that run support, to help pick up another win? So I'm excited to see Brandon Woodruff back on the mound. He had a solid start back on the 31st against Tampa Bay. Can he give them the same thing? Not issuing any free walks. Strikeout numbers are solid. And you're going up against a Boston Red Sox team that came into the season with a lot of expectations. And they've been off to a very, very, very slow start to begin the year. Just winning 2 games so far. So you don't want to be, the Brewers don't want to be the team that maybe gets Boston right, gets them on a little bit of a momentum swing. And they've got, a couple former Brewers over there too. And Boston may not want to do any more trades with Milwaukee too, because Caleb Durbin right now in 28 at-bats, he just has 2 hits. He's hitting 0.71 with a 133 on base and a 204 OPS. Andrew Monasterio, just 7 at-bats, 143. I mean, it's been back-to-back series now going up against former Brewers, whereas Isaac Collins, right? Isaac Collins with the Royals. You had Nick Mears pitching against them too. So Brewers going to be going up against a couple of friendly faces that were part of the squad from last year or the last couple of years and such. And Caleb Durbin and Isaac Collins too, obviously, big parts and such. So don't let them change their seasons around, right? Let's get another series win here. Brewers have been really good in interleague play the last few years. I saw this crazy number yesterday, but it's just like they have been like the best National League team going up against American League teams in interleague play for whatever reason. They have just been awesome. Let's keep that trend going. All right. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the momentum going, baby. Let's pick up another win. Get off to a fast start. What has impressed you the most so far with this Milwaukee Brewers start to their regular season? All right. Let me know. Hit me up with some of your thoughts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or on the Section 105 chat on the video stream. Shot clock's going to cut me off here. So coming up next hour, let's talk some hoops. We've got National Championship night tonight. Give me your picks between Michigan and UConn. Also, Bucks drama as we start to wrap up the regular season this week. More stuff coming out about Giannis and the Bucks and the relationship between the two. If you were holding out hope that maybe a long-term relationship can continue,